Hi, I'm Hai and welcome to this week's video. Brushes do matter. Today we are going to look at how to control different kinds of brushes to get a painterly effect and most importantly to control edges and the materials. As with any master painting, they represent how we see and that's why they look so realistic. And traditional painters use simple tools to achieve that effect. There are only 4 basic brushes you need to consider. Only 4. In this image you can see which simple key factors you need to consider when picking the right brush. There are soft brushes and hard brushes. And that is simple, right? And these soft or hard brushes can be either wet or dry. And the wetness or dryness really represents how much oil medium you use versus how dry the pigment is. So that we now arrive at 4 different possible brushes. The soft wet brush, the soft dry brush, the hard wet brush, and the hard dry brush. With the soft wet brush, you can paint a lot of soft materials, like soft skin. With the soft dry brush, you might paint hair, for example, because hair might be very dry. Basically, you can also use the soft dry brush for ground that have a soft light gradation. The hard wet brush can be used for very dry materials or materials that have a lot of texture to them. The hard wet brush is very good to block in the initial shapes and really is one of the main painting brushes almost every artist uses. The hard dry brush can be used for very dry materials or materials that have a lot of texture to them. You can experiment with these 4 basic brushes to achieve a variety of effects. And I recommend doing a master study applying and studying consciously what brushes the masters used and why they used it. This painting is called An Eloquent Silence by Sir Lawrence Alma-Tadema. And Sir Lawrence Alma-Tadema was really a master of realist edges. What we can immediately notice is the contrast of soft and hard edges. He used dry brushes in this area and more wet brushes here. The same can be said in this area with a fairly dry treatment. And we have a more wet treatment in the skin. And this image really works because of the contrast of dry and wet brushes. The same principles of variety and unity apply here as well. You might want to use only wet brushes for a sense of unity, or also a use of combination of both for more variety. And just to demonstrate this, we have this area of wet brushes, and really in a big picture it gives a sense of unity of this wetness versus this dryness. I mean, these are big shapes of dry brushes and big shapes of wet brushes. This area is very soft versus a harder area in the background. So what you have here is hard, soft, hard. And Sir Lawrence Alma-Tadema used that effect because there's a distance between the objects, and I will talk about it in a later video, but for now just see how there is a unity and contrast of these hard and soft edges. And you can really make use of that by using these different brushes. Now let's talk about the flow setting for a bit. This setting is one that many don't really understand, but with the flow setting, you basically control how loaded your brush is. If the flow setting is low, the brush is not as loaded. The brush strokes will be fairly transparent or really dry, depending on the brush, so it won't cover all of the surface. With this setting, you will be able to paint a lot of subtle gradations. If the flow setting is high, the brush will be loaded with a lot of pigments and you will be able to paint way more opaquely and cover most of the surface. A high flow setting will encourage direct and opaque painting, so it is pretty useful if the color you pick is the same as you want on the canvas. And I encourage you to experiment with these settings and see for yourself. And that's it for this very quick lecture. And my question to you is, are you confused by edges? And if so, why? Let me know in the comments. And if you like the videos, please like and subscribe to my channel. Videos are released every Wednesday. See you soon.